Now, moving into Zen, if there was ever a track that was supposed to be her redemption moment for the night, this was it.
The key to my destiny. But I still hold the key to my destiny.
Let's take a trip down memory lane for a second. Back in the day, Jennie Kim was the undisputed blueprint for energy. When BlackPink first hit the scene, she wasn't just keeping up, she was leading the charge. Her stage presence was magnetic, her solo stages were high-octane, and she honestly outpaced everyone in the room. She had that it factor that you just couldn't teach. But as the years went by, the conversation shifted. We started seeing this pick-and-choose energy in performances that felt a bit stale, where it seemed like she was only giving her all when she felt like it. It's been a frustrating ride for us as fans. So, when the MMA 2025 lineup was announced, the stakes couldn't have been higher. This was her big return to the Korean stage after years away. This was the moment to shut everyone up. And look, I enjoyed the show, I really did. But we have to be honest here. Even in the opening minutes, Jennie looked noticeably drained. There was this out-of-it vibe that hung over the set, and compared to the fire she used to bring to her Korean stages, this honestly felt like a career low in terms of raw power. It breaks my heart to say it, but with a performance this sluggish, it feels like those lazy allegations are going to follow her forever. She just couldn't outrun them tonight. Hello again, Rosaries. Welcome back to the channel. Grab a drink and settle in, because we need to get into the nitty-gritty. Let's evaluate every single track from Jennie's MMA 2025 set. She began her performance with Soul City, which was the mood setter for the whole set. Right out of the gate, I have to give Jennie her flowers for the concept. That 15-meter veil draped over her, covered in ancient Hangul poetry, that was a move. It felt like she was leaning into her national representative status, showing this deep respect for her roots. When the blue lighting hit and she was just a silhouette under that fabric, it was genuinely artistic, more of a performance art piece than a typical idol stage. Vocally, she actually sounded great. She was stable, her tone was rich, and she didn't over-sing it, which let the atmosphere of the song breathe. It was very main character of her to open with something so slow and high fashion. But child, this is where my low energy alarm started ringing, because that veil intro lasted so long. When she finally emerged, I was expecting a massive burst of energy to compensate for the wheat, and it just never came. She looked beautiful, but she also looked like she hadn't slept in 3 days. Her eyes had that glassy look, and her movements were so minimal that it bordered on being static. If you're going to make us wait through a 2-minute artistic intro, the payoff needs to be explosive, but she stayed in first gear the entire time. It felt like she was just going through the motions of the choreography rather than feeling the music. For a song about the hustle and bustle of Seoul, she looked like she was ready to head home and call it a night. I wanted to see that spark, that I'm back and I own this city fire, but instead it felt like she was just checking a box on her to-do list. Now, moving into Zen. If there was ever a track that was supposed to be her redemption moment for the night, this was it. On the praise side, I have to hand it to her. Jennie's cool girl persona is unmatched. She has this way of staring into the camera that just screams expensive. Her lines were actually very clean here. She wasn't sloppy with the movements, and you could tell she had the steps down to a science. There's a specific kind of rhythmic control you need for a song like this, and she hit those accents with a lot of sophistication. For a minute there, she really looked like the untouchable soloist she's marketed to be. The styling was impeccable, and she moved with a certain sleekness that felt very high fashion and intentional. But here's where we have to get real about the energy. While the moves were technically correct, the performance felt totally mechanical. There was zero soul behind it. It's like she's reached a point where she can perform in her sleep, so that's exactly what she did. She performed like she was dreaming. When you're the center of a stage that massive, you need to project power, but Jennie felt like she was receding into herself. I kept waiting for that one moment where she'd break character, give us a smirk, or just put some actual weight into a dance break, but it stayed at this flat, lukewarm level the whole time. It's that classic checked-out vibe that drives us fans crazy. She's doing the work, but she's not feeling the work. It's frustrating because we know what she's capable of when she actually wants to be there, but during Zen, it felt like she was just counting down the seconds until she could go backstage. She had the look of a star, but the battery was at about 5%. And finally, we have to talk about the closer, like Jennie. Now, I wanted this to be the mic drop moment where she proved everyone wrong, but oh brother, this was the most frustrating part of the whole night. Let's start with the positives, because I'm trying to be fair here. Visually, she looked incredible. That custom sequined jacket was everything, and her stage presence, at least in terms of her aura, was definitely there. She knows how to command a camera, and for the first 30 seconds, you're almost fooled into thinking she's about to give you a show-stopping finale, but then the reality sets in. Guys, the lack of live vocals was actually jarring. She barely sang a fraction of her lines. I'm sitting there watching her dance, and the backing track is doing 90% of the heavy lifting. It's one thing to use a backtrack for a high-energy dance break, but she was skipping entire verses. What's wild to me is that even during the BlackPink World Tour, where we were all complaining about her being inconsistent, she was still giving us at least 85% of her lines. Fast forward to the Deadline Tour, and where we genuinely thought she would improve, she just gave up. But she sang more at tour than here. So to see her show up to the MMA 2025, a massive domestic award show, and give us even less than she did on tour, it's genuinely disappointing. It felt like a regression. It's like she's completely given up on the singer part of being an idol and is just focusing on being a performer. But even then, the energy wasn't high enough to justify the silence on the mic. When you're winning Record of the Year, the audience expects you to actually sing the record. Instead, she spent the whole time doing the choreography, and even that felt like she was moving through water. There's no excuse for skipping that many lines when this is your big solo comeback stage in Korea. It felt lazy, it felt entitled, and it honestly felt like she didn't think the audience deserved her live voice. It's a huge step down from her past performances, and it really makes you wonder where her head is at. If she can't be bothered to sing her own hit song at a Daesung level show, then when is she going to give us her all? It's a tough pill to swallow for those of us who have been rooting for her since day one. So where does this leave us with Jennie? Look, winning Record of the Year is a massive achievement, and nobody can take that away from her. The Ruby album clearly resonated with the judges and the charts, and in a lot of ways, she's peaked as a solo artist this year. But as a fan who has watched her since the beginning, the MMA 2025 stage left a bittersweet taste in my mouth. It feels like we're at this weird crossroads. On one hand, she's established this high-fashion, high-concept aesthetic that is undeniably cool. But on the other hand, the actual performance, the live singing, the raw energy, the connection to the audience is becoming a secondary priority. When I compare this to her past Korean stages, or even her early days in BlackPink, the fire just isn't the same. It's hard to ignore the lazy narrative when the effort on screen doesn't match the prestige of the award she's holding. But I want to hear from you guys. Am I being too harsh, or did you feel that same drop in energy? Do you think the Record of the Year win was justified after a performance like that? Or was it a case of the song being better than the stage? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's keep it respectful and be honest. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this breakdown. Thanks for hanging out with me, Rosaries. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!